Hey everybody, Mr. Aish here. Today in financial literacy, we are going to talk about how to calculate interest. Okay, so this is some math that we're going to be doing, talking about if you borrow money at some point in your life and you have to pay it back with interest, how to figure out how much you're actually going to pay in total to borrow that money, how much of that'll be interest, and how much of that'll be just the amount you want to borrow. So some things you're going to need today. I would have a scratch piece of paper out with a pencil or a pen, either is fine. And a calculator, either your computer or your phone is okay for a calculator. Either one works just fine there. So if you don't have a calculator on hand, you can totally use whatever you've got there. So a little bit of background on this topic. Where can you go to borrow money? And feel free to pause this to discuss this student answers. So I'll ask a question and then feel free to pause it for a second. I'll stop talking for a few seconds and then you guys can answer. Um, but where can you go to borrow money? Most people end up going to a bank to borrow money, but you can actually borrow money from pretty much anyone who's willing to give it to you. Um, if I needed a small loan and had to ask a parent maybe or a family member, I could do that if they're willing to help me out with that. They obviously might say no, and I would have to go to a more like a lending corporation or a bank. There are companies that only just lend money and then collect the interest, but banks do more than that, obviously. What is a lender and what is a borrower? A lender is somebody who is going to give that money out, whether that be a bank or a private person. Um, the lender is the person who has the money to give out to somebody as a loan. A borrower then is the person who needs the money, who is going to borrow it. We use the word borrow because it implies that you're going to pay it back as well, which you would have to do with interest in this case, the stuff we're going to look at here. How does a borrower borrow money? Um, if it's a private person, it may be different than a bank. If it's a private person, they would just simply ask for it. Probably have to maybe have an agreement drawn up, some paperwork that they both sign. But then a bank, you would definitely have to go through an application process. You're going to interview. They want to make sure that you can have a steady income that you can pay back that loan as you go. And then you'd have to go through some paperwork, sign a few papers to agree to the terms of the loan, and then you would um, then that's when you would get the money. Then why would a person or financial institution lend money? Part of it is because they understand people need money. You can't just go out and afford a $30,000 car or a $200,000 house. It's hard to save up that amount of money to pay for the whole thing at once. So they agree um, give you the money to buy that. Um, and the other reason that they do this is because they can make money on it by charging you interest. Interest is money that you owe on top of the total that you already borrowed. Okay, so you agree to pay back um, all the money that you borrowed and then a certain percentage of it each year over time. Okay, and so the more money I borrow, the longer I can take to pay it back, but then the more interest money I pay in interest. So we'll dive a little bit deeper into these over the next couple days with some examples of that. What is interest and what is principal? Okay, interest is the extra money that you're paying back to the lender for the ability to borrow that money, that extra that they're going to make on top of what you pay or of what they give you. What is principal? Principal is just the amount you need to borrow. Principal is the basic amount. So say I'm buying a $30,000 car and I need all $30,000. The principal would be $30,000, and the interest then would be the extra money I would pay back to my lender. Whether that could be a few $100s, even into the thousands of dollars. How do you figure out interest costs? We'll go through a formula here in just a minute to do that. Okay. So another thing I just want to go over here, you'll hear names for lending money or for giving loans to people. You'll hear a few different things. They're called a loan, they're called credit, it's called financing. That's all the same thing. Okay? Just different ways of saying the same thing. Someone else offers to pay the full price, they give you the money. Okay, loan, credit, financing. Somebody offers to pay the full price for something, they give you the money to do so, and then you pay them back over time. Okay, you pay them back every month, usually is how that would work, over a set number of years. That could be 1 year, that could be 5 years, that could be 30 years. Seems really nice of them, but they're charging you interest as well. Okay, interest is the additional money you agree to pay for the service of borrowing money. Okay, so you agree to pay that so that you can borrow money from them then. All right, we'll walk through an example one here. Okay, we'll go over here to this Jamboard. And we'll actually go back here. So our formula for this is I equals interest equals, so that to figure out the interest, we will take the principal times the rate times time. Okay, again, the principal is the amount the borrower wants to borrow, right? That's the amount that the thing costs, whether that is $200 for a new game system update or something, or it is $200,000 to buy a new house. Either way, that is the amount you want to borrow. The rate, okay? This is a percentage that you agree to pay back that will be charged in interest each year. Okay, so that might be it could be usually a small single-digit percentage, but depending on how much you borrow, it could be up into the 20-25% range. So you really want to pay those rates back those loans back faster. But it's just a percentage of the principal that you will pay back each year on top of paying off the principal. And then time, how long the borrower gets to pay on that loan. Okay, so it may sound like, oh, I can like make my payments lower based on like if I take 7 years to pay something off instead of 5 years, my payment might be lower, but I'm actually going to pay more in the long run in interest. So you got to make sure you're paying as much as you can to keep those loans low, or pay those loans off quicker and avoid paying more in interest. So we'll go into an example here. Okay, so I equals PRT, the interest that I'm going to pay in total equals, again, my principal, the amount I'm borrowing, times my rate, the percentage I'm going to pay it back at, or pay in addition to my principal, and the time of paying, I get to pay it off in. So we're going to take my principal of $2,000. I'm borrowing $2,000. I am paying it back at 5% interest. Okay. And I'm going to pay the loan off in 3 years. Okay. So I can clean this problem up a little bit. I don't need my dollar sign, so I can just write 2,000 times my rate. I don't need the percentage sign, but I do need to change this percentage to a decimal. Okay, so to do that, I move the actual decimal over 2 spots, so it would be 1, 2, and it would be 0.05 or 0.05, either way works, times the number of years. I just get to put the number in there, 3. Okay, go over here to my calculator. I type in 2,000 times 0.05 times 3, and that tells me $300. So if I go back here to my Jamboard, my interest I will pay is $300. Okay, so I have to pay all of this $2,000 back plus an additional $300 to the person who I borrowed the money from. So say I borrow from the bank, I get my $2,000. I spend it on whatever I was going to use it for. I have to have a reason to use it. I can't just be like, oh, just give me $2,000, but like I have to say like, oh, I'm going to buy a car with that $2,000. This is an auto loan. I take my $2,000, I buy my car. Over the next 3 years, I make a payment each month, and at the end, I will have paid $2,000 back in principal, an additional $300 in interest, and then my total that I will have paid for that car is, as you can see here, $2,300. Okay, so hope that makes some sense here. Okay, we're going to try some of these problems out today. All right, on my website, I have posted these practice problems. The thing with these is you actually have to get the right answer. It won't allow you to go on unless you get the right answer. So, first question is going to be, what is your name? Just put your name in. All right, problems 1 through 5. It says pick a game, take a brain break. We won't do that part today. But remember that all answers must include the dollar sign and comma if necessary. Okay, so let's look at this one. Dave Cassidy placed $10,000 in a savings account. He received 2% interest. How much did he earn after 2 years? Okay, so if I go back to my Jamboard here, my trusty Jamboard, I equals PRT. Let's look at it here. He started with 10,000 in there. Okay. He earned 2% interest. And we wanted to know how much he got after 2 years. So we take his 10,000 times 0.02 times 2 years. Okay, now if I look back, oh shoot, it would be 10,000-ish. $400 in interest. Okay, and then if I go back here, how much interest did he earn? So I have to remember to put in my dollar sign, 400. Okay, and nothing pops up on that one, so I know I got it right. So if I were to put $350 in there, okay, we're looking for the interest earned. Oh, it tells me that isn't right. All right, and we'll do one more together here because this is asking a different question. Okay, remember? Okay, Barney Miller placed $1,000 in a savings account that received 4% interest. How much will be in there after 4 years? Okay, so I'll just hop over to the calculator for this one. He put $1,000 in times 0.04 times 4 years, 160. Okay, well, if I put in 160, that will be incorrect. We're looking for the total, so I have to take what he already had in the account. It'd be 1,160. Okay, that one works. Okay, so make sure you know what it's asking for. It may ask for the total in the account. It may ask for how much interest a person earned. Okay, so make sure you do that. Okay, there are 15 practice problems. After a few, or after each set of 5, it'll take you to another one, but you have to make sure to put in the dollar signs, put in the commas where needed, and make sure you know what it's asking for. There's two real types of questions that it'll ask. It'll be either the total amount or the interest amount. My lights just went off, so that probably means it's time for me to wrap up this video. All right, thank you. Good luck, everybody. And we will continue this a little bit more tomorrow, but this assignment should be done, and it is going to be due tomorrow. Answering all the practice problem questions will be due tomorrow. All right, thank you, and have a good one.